Can I just ask, like, in terms of, obviously there's different ways of addressing a kind of a crisis, or how it's perceived. Is it a crisis or is it a problem? Or there's all the different kind of hierarchies of issues that the state is dealing with. And when you're talking about, we're kind of looking at basically, because we're focusing on assessment now, we're losing out on intervention, and there's this kind of, it's like there isn't enough, basically. And, you know, we always hear it comes down to staffing, we can't get the staff, we're looking at doing it abroad. I'm just wondering if it was, you know, kind of treated like a real crisis, for example, like COVID, there's probably a way that the issues could be addressed. And I suppose that's what I'm trying to impress upon the HSE from what we hear at this committee, that it's beyond crisis point. People can't get respite, people can't get early intervention. I understand the issues you're saying about the assessment of need, but say if this was treated like an absolute crisis, is there ways that we could, for example, speed up recruitment from abroad? I don't know what the precise issues are in that area. Like, I'm just wondering, can we do more because we need to? And how do we do that?
So, maybe if I say a couple of things, I think first of all, look, this is understood by us to be an absolute priority. And I think I've said it here and at other committees, that we share a commitment that you, at this committee and other committees, have said to us that our children are the future of the state, and what we do for children is critical, and in that sense it has to be a priority that the gaps in services and supports that are there now are unacceptable, and everything must be done to try and address it. The second thing is within the recruitment and retention work that's going on within the HSE at the moment, disability is one of the areas that is an absolute priority. I don't think it would be wrong of me to say that in terms of some of the work we're doing, we're trying to prioritise supports for our staffing, recruitment for disability services and for mental health services as the two kind of priority areas. In that, part of that is making it an attractive place to work, because ultimately where people have choices, you know, people will choose where they want to work, so we want them to choose to come and work in disability services. So we're doing a lot of work to try and portray that as positively as possible. But there is that is challenging. You'll know yourself, every time you put something positive in the public domain, someone comes back and says, but, and you know, you're trying to not ignore the but, because that's real experience for people. But on the other side, we do want to try and make it as positive as possible in order to improve the recruitment. I think from a Department of Health, and as we move towards the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth, and from the perspective of the relevant ministers, this is an absolute priority. They are definitely communicating that to us as well. And in that sense, we're trying to, I suppose, come at it as focused as we can, but also recognising that it isn't any one thing that fixes it. We have to work at a few strands in order to kind of get the overall goal of improving recruitment. I think the bit in relation to competing challenges, that's not entirely within our control. So we are legally bound to meet the obligations of the Disability Act, and we have to comply with the law. When we're failing to do that, we're subject to court actions, as you know. So trying to balance out of the one pool the legal obligation around assessment and the absolute necessity that interventions and services are the core of what we should be doing. That, in the context of scarce resources, it is a difficult balancing act, and it's extraordinarily frustrating for families. There's no doubt about it.
Can I?
Deputy Ellis, sorry, I'll let you back in a second. I'll just let Deputy Ellis ask some questions. Just